Well, greetings everyone, and welcome once again to another Thursday night of the Sports Crib, home of the Sports Crib Network. Well, I see Spencer's here already in the queue. Hopefully, we'll be adding Bill and some of the other guys a little bit later. But Spencer, how you doing this evening?
Just fine, sir. How are you doing this evening?
Oh man, it's hot as hell out here in California, man.
I've got fans on all the way around me.
It's been like 90, 98 all week long. So, uh, but the good thing, football is back on, and we've already had two college games for most of the league. So, we're looking forward to the college football season. This game here tonight is a little sloppy. You still boycotting the NFL, Spencer?
Say this again.
Are you still boycotting the NFL?
No, I'm not. I'm watching see how they do. I'll give everybody a shot to redeem themselves. If they go back to supporting my country, they can have their own personal views. I will go back to watching them again.
Well, I'm going to have to get you on my political program. As you know, I'm a veteran, and I got my own views on that, and I'm sure you do too.
Right. Everybody's got their own views. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. But Spencer, what's happened to your Braves this year, man?
Well, if you remember at the beginning of the season before it ever started, I was on your show, and I'm very surprised they've won as many games as they have after they got rid of all their star players this year, after they did so good last year. So I'm really shocked they've done this good, to be honest with you.
Well, Freddie's trying to win him an MVP over here with the Dodgers. So,
yep.
Hey.
And he will.
The man's one of the best hitters in baseball. I mean, you have to get consistency,
right?
But I do have a couple of things to ask you while we're kicking off the baseball season. Who do you think is going to be the AL champs this year?
That's a really good question, sir. I even got to do some research on it, and still nothing convinced me at all. It's a pretty good matchup this year. I mean, it really and truly is. Actually, on both sides. I mean, it's too. I can't call it. I just can't.
Well, if it comes down to hitting, I think the Yankees have the advantage. But if it comes down to pitching, I think the Astros had the advantage.
That's my point. You don't know on any given. You don't know. It's just it's too close for me to call. They're both.
If they could set Judge down every game, I'm sure that would make it much easier for the Astros. But, I've been a Yankee fan for a long time. Probably ever since, I guess it goes back to Roy Campanella when the Dodgers were in Brooklyn.
That's been a while.
I've always kind of wondered, and now it seems to be getting closer, because at one time I had the Mets kind of running away with this NL thing here. And now, of course, it's kind of like the basketball season. As soon as we get into the second half of the season and things seems to be kind of sorting themselves out, here comes the injury bug.
Right.
So if we're going to say that for the top seed in the AL East is going to be the Yankees or the Astros.
Correct.
How many games do you think the Dodgers are going to win this season? I've seen from 106 to 110.
You did bring up the thing about the injury bug too, though.
Yes, sir.
Uh,
But they got Mookie back in the lineup.
right.
Freddie's still in the lineup.
Freddie's doing great. I mean, he is doing great.
You know,
I, I'll split you up. I'm gonna go right below you. I'm gonna go like 109.
well,
I'll go right below you.
now you do realize that the Dodgers are on like a 70% winning streak here.
Yes, that's what it said on the thing I read today. It's like they should take it all, but it don't always work out that way.
No.
I mean, and if you look at it, they got some pitching streaks they're getting ready to come up against. It's going to challenge some of that hitting they've been doing so good at lately.
Yeah. But it's hard to bet against a team that has Freddie Freeman and Mookie
You didn't
Betts.
ask me about my wallet now. You asked me about my heart. That's two different subjects.
That's two different subjects.
That's two different subjects.
Oh man. Well, who do you think is going to be the MVP of the American League?
Be honest with you, I can't answer that one either. I can't give you one standout, in my opinion. I can't. I mean, who you got? Who do you think's that one standout, the MVP?
Well, if Judge breaks Maris's record, then it's a shoe in.
But
but he's already beaten. He's already out at who's the right-handed. He had 54 the other day. It put him ahead of.
Yeah. That was in my last week's notes too.
I want to say Alex Rodriguez. Right-handed hitter.
Right. I'm gonna have to look that one up. Go ahead.
I think Judge could definitely be a candidate.
But you're only talking about a couple games. Any one of them have a bad game or two here, and they could be out of it. Somebody else.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's that close. I mean, I just don't have that one. Like Barry Bonds days. Well, you knew he had it. Come on. You know what I mean? It just ain't that person right now.
I'm still trying to figure out how Barry gained 6 hat sizes on that trip from Pittsburgh out here to the West Coast. But hey, another good hitter came up doing that area. You got to, but hey, you never got caught. never a positive test.
You still have to hit the ball.
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry. You can take all whatever you want to. You still got to make contact with that bat with that ball. Nobody's gonna convince me any different of that. I'm sorry.
Oh hey. Of course, out here in San Diego, Tony Gwynn.
Yep.
So there's a lot of good ball players out here. What do you think about do you think Freddie's running away with the MVP?
I think he should. But then again, I mean, it's close this year, man. I mean, it's just we got great players. I mean, it's about the most equal I've seen these teams in a long time. Some of them go on a bad run here and there, then they'll go on a good run. I mean, all of them's doing that, and it's just like they've all got great talent, and it's hard. It's just hard for me to pick one. It really is. It ain't like the old days when it was obvious.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see a couple of great runs in college football also.
You think so?
I really do. I'm interested in your thoughts on this Georgia team versus Alabama. Um, as you know, it's I think one. I think Alabama's ahead in both folds, but I think Georgia is right there, number two.
They are. They are.
Uh,
And
so
to answer your question on that one, this one I can get kind of lengthy or I can shorten it up because I had to do my a special segment on my show, CTS Sports Room. Well, I had to go on my Georgia Trolls and eat crow. So I ate my crow. I admit I was wrong about Oregon. All the hell wrong with Oregon. Anyway, but going Georgia's team, their offense have made a step up. I will not deny that. Stetson Bennett is playing with more confidence. Now he knew he owned Oregon, so that was real easy for him to be. But he's playing better. I think the defensive line has took a step back. They're not as good as they were last year, and I think that might be what holds them back from repeating this year. Alabama, well, it was Utah State. I mean, I can't, right now, I don't know. I like the play calling better from O'Brien right now. I love our defense as a whole, front and back this year. Offensive line has took a step up, but they've got a lot of work to do. A lot of work for us to go on and win the championship. So there's a lot of football to be played before we can say it's Alabama and Georgia.
I'm not sure
Okay.
because you can never count Nick Saban out. Never.
That's true.
You know, and Georgia has been the destination of a lot of talent. And I think this is one of those rivalries that, we talked about last week,
Right.
those one of those college rivalries. And I think it's getting back up to that stage to where,
Oh, it's definitely. It is definitely rivalry wise. It's definitely getting there. I mean, we have more. I'm gonna say, well, this year we have tripled the Georgia Trolls on our show. Going on in the comments and calling. I've even had them come on the show. So, come on, man, y'all want to know? Let's talk about it. It's triple. So it's definitely has took a major increase in vindictive against one another. But like I told these Georgia fans, I'm gonna tell you the same thing. There's only one team out there who can legitimately say they own Alabama, and we're getting ready to play them this Saturday. That's Texas Longhorns. They're 7-1-1. They've had 7 wins. We've had 1 and 1 tie. So record-wise, they do own us. I can't deny that.
oh man, boy, my Texas Longhorn is not here yet. Boy, oh boy.
Well, I mean, I'm just being honest. It's true. Now we hadn't got to play that much either. Now, so I got to throw that one in there. But the record stands as it is, 7-1-1.
Wow, that goes back to Daryl Royal, doesn't it?
Yep.
Okay. Like, wow. I was trying to think how long ago that's been. Yeah. Now, it's funny that you mentioned Texas because Texas coach Sarkisian
Right.
says he's not concerned about whether Alabama showdown defines the Longhorns. Are you believing that?
Nope. Because he knows what it would do for his program for them to beat Alabama and beat Nick Saban. I'm not buying that BS at all.
Yeah, it's. I mean, any team. It's like playing a Notre Dame or an Ohio State.
Right.
It's a measuring stick.
Right. I
Yeah.
mean, I heard one. I forget the guy's name. I was listening to Joel Pratt, I think his name was. He gave the best description that I've heard of it. That made a lot of sense. He said, "This game between Texas and Alabama. It's for a chance for Texas to look in the mirror and see where they're at as a program."
Yeah, I mean, I think
I have to agree with that. It is.
Yeah, I mean, most definitely, and I'm still wondering.
Okay.
Because I really have my doubts about how competitive Texas and Oklahoma are going to be in that SEC conference.
At the beginning, since we're only looking at what, a year, 2 years max, not very competitive. But they will grow, and they'll grow quick because they're great programs, both of them. Both of them have good coaching going on. They both have the money backing them. This NIL deals is going to just help increase them even more. It won't take them long to catch back up.
What did you think about the Florida State LSU game?
Oh, Lord, I never laughed so hard in all my born days. Oh, man, I ain't lying. I laughed. I even, after that, I called my horseman on. We did a special hour and a half live after that game, just laughing about it. I'm like, oh, all this build-up on Mr. Kelly Bryant from Notre Dame, all that he's done up there. I mean, good Lord. And I didn't see that man coach his guys one single time coming off that field. Not one. Not only that, at halftime, he threw his players on the bus. You don't do that in the SEC. Your guys won't play for you. And I don't know how much longer he's going to be there. I just put it that way.
Well, it's the SEC. It doesn't take a whole lot of guys. What, 2 boosters can buy his contract out. So
Well, that is true. That is true.
So,
now, Florida State, I will give you this. They are still lacking in talent. They still got to get some more talent in that football team. But them boys played their butts off. They did not give up one single time. They gave it all they had. And that's all you can ask for you guys to do when you're outmanned and outgunned is give it all you got. I mean, it was like neither one of them wanted to win the game. Florida State had some bad coaching on their side. When they had the lead down there, there with 4th down and goal down there, one thing they had to do was take a knee, kick a field goal. They'd be up 10 points with 1:40 seconds left, and the game would have been over right then. But no, they fumbled the ball. You know, it was some bad coaching on both sides, but it was the first game of the season, so we'll see how this plays out.
Now, there was, of course, a little controversy, and I don't know, back in my day, we'd have went for the win. And none of this tie and hey, that's the game. That's what the game is all about. Do you think that LSU should have went for the 2-point conversion?
Oh, definitely. They had the momentum. I mean, they just drove right down that field with a minute something left on the clock. Scored. They had the momentum. They definitely should have went for 2. And they already just had a field goal blocked earlier. And it was just funny that it was through the same guy, through the same hole,
the same
extra point. I mean, they didn't even make an adjustment on that. So yeah, I definitely would win for 2.
Bill, how you doing this evening?
It's been a very, very, very busy evening. A lot of things going on. A lot of other things I've had to work on tonight with other shows and other whatevers. But it's good to be here.
We were just talking about that Florida State LSU game. what's your thoughts on the 2-point conversion? And then, as Spencer just pointed out, how do you get 2 blocks kicks through the middle?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe we've lost track of or maybe I've lost track of the fundamentals,
So
but but somebody would be wouldn't have on the starting uniform next.
Well, okay. So obviously we can talk about the players, but I'm talking about the coaches. So just so you understand, I may be the only person here that's a career special teamer. Let me explain how practices work. They spend about 60-70% of the time on, at least high school and college is on our particular plan for this upcoming game. We want to run this play in this situation. Then they'll run a few situationals. Here's our goal line. Here's the stuff we do when we're backed up in our, deep in our end. So that's like 3/4 of your time is spent on specific stuff for the game team you're about to play, and then situationals. If we get a turnover, if you're on defense and there was just a turnover and it's a sudden change, then they do all that stuff. Then there's some reaming out of somebody because of what they didn't do, whatever, right? There's usually a certain amount of time spent for somebody getting called out on whatever. And then coaches look up and realize, oh crap, practice is almost over. Hey, special teams, right? So how much time do you think is really devoted to that? I'm going to say less than 20 minutes per practice. I'm just guessing.
I'll give you that.
I'm not in their practices. I don't know what their practices are like, but my guess is less than 20 minutes per practice at most is devoted to it. So there's no preseason in college football. We talk about this, but we sometimes don't realize what we're saying. This is a preseason game in essence, right? Some of these guys, because of the transfer portal and all the other things, have never been in a live fire exercise before, right? They've had some dry runs. They've done some stuff, there's been some stuff, even some stuff with pads on, but that's not the same as a game. So live special teams with full contact, I'm going to say close to 0, right? So if you're going to see mistakes on special teams, not just special teams, but especially on special teams early in the season in college football, book it. Watch for the first couple of weeks. I don't know if you're a betting person, but if there's prop bets in some of these games on special teams mistakes, blocked punts, blocked field goals, dropped punts, whatever, if you ever want to just throw money at a prop bet on special teams, do it early in the season because that's where those mistakes are going to be made. And so coaches need to be more cognizant, I think. Now, once again, I'm a career special teamer, so I'm prejudiced. But I've seen many a game where a team has been dominant on offense and dominant on defense and lost the game on special teams. I have seen it more times than I've had hot meals. So you would think at some point coaches would say to themselves, maybe we should give our –
Was that in the field or out of the field? No, go ahead.
I have some not all that pleasant memories of that. Yeah. Oh, you finally get something you really like, and now it's raining. Delightful. But yes, so back to something more pleasant, football. And you can tell which coaches care about special teams, right? Bill Belichick cares about special teams. He spends time on it. He signs players specifically for special teams. He has players like Jackie Slater's son, Matthew Slater. Matthew Slater can play for Bill Belichick as long as he wants to. Until Matthew Slater says, I'm done, he has a place on that team. Why? Because he's essentially a special teams coach at this point, practically. He's practically a coach of special teams. When they have new special teams players, Bill sends them to them, right? Along with the actual special teams coach, and says, hey, I want you to learn how we do special teams. I know how you did it at whatever, right? But even if you came from another NFL team, other NFL teams don't take special teams. Some don't take special teams that seriously. Belichick does. He devotes actual time in practice and actual time in film study to special teams. Why? Because, well, at one point he's a special teams coach. But also because he understands there's this much difference in talent between teams in the NFL. It's that much. In college, there's that much. In high school, sometimes there's, you know what I mean? But you get to the pros, everybody was the biggest badass in the world, right? There's that much difference. He knows that repping special teams gives you chances to win games you shouldn't win. When the other team's better on offense, better on defense, you can still win by being better on special teams. So I'm going to lay some of this at the head or at the feet or whatever direction you want to lay it on of the people that said we don't have to spend that much time on special teams. I don't know why more teams don't rep their special teams live contact. That's make clear what I'm saying. Live contact, full speed. That's what. Let me make that clear. Live contact, full speed on special teams. Yes, I know it's scary to practice kickoff and punt, full speed, live contact. I know it's scary. People get hurt. I get that. But when you don't rep things live, full contact, full speed, when you finally go live, because you don't get a do-over. You can't say, "Oh, we weren't ready, guys. Can we do it again?" It doesn't work that way. No, you lost the game. Just think of how many games, and I'm thinking of games right now. Right? I mean, why wasn't Green Bay in the Super Bowl? Why? Special teams. They had a touchdown scored for the 49ers off a blocked punt. They had a blocked, they had 4 points they lost, and then another touchdown they gave the other team. That is a 10-point swing, if you count the extra point, 11-point swing just based on special teams. They win that game going away if they played well on special teams. They would have been a Super Bowl team if they just played better on special teams. So,
well, Bill, Spencer says that Brian Kelly's not long for LSU. What's your thoughts?
Well, Brian Kelly is not long for any place. I mean, I guess you can. Well, let me take that back. He just stayed at Notre Dame for a while.
Good point. Good point.
But we used to call him next job Brian, right? He's like a bigger, better deal. So, and if indeed they want to buy him out, he won't go crying. I don't know if you see his contract. Right. I don't know if you looked at his contract.
Well, like I said, two LSU boosters can buy him out at any given day. So,
and guess what? He'll take that buyout.
Of course.
There will always be somebody who will for whatever reason, will want Brian Kelly. Everybody brings his name up whenever a big job comes up. Forever, for whatever reason. And I've watched his career literally from Grand Valley State on. I watched him win a Division II national championship, right? I watched him at Central Michigan turn that program around and then hand it to his buddy Butch Jones. And then he did it again when he gets to Cincinnati. Gets the car out of the ditch onto the road and says, "Here, Butch Jones." And, eventually, I guess he outgrew the Butch Jones experiment, or Butch Jones went on to Tennessee and got in over his head. But here's the things I'll tell you about him. And it reminds me a little bit of a coach I worked for many years ago. He is a person who understands everything technical about football that there is to understand. Brilliant football mind. Here's the issue with him, or issues. He doesn't really care. You know what I mean? Like, deep down inside, I mean, he learns the names of his players and stuff like that. Don't get me wrong. But he's not one of those guys who's like, "How's your mom? How's your little brother? How's your little sister?" I'm just telling you the truth. Like, I've known people who played for Coach Kelly, and it reminds me a lot of a coach I worked for years ago who had been in the NFL, right? Had been an offensive coordinator and later a head coach in the NFL. Comes comes to college and treats it like the NFL, right? But great at coaching, like the actual technical stuff. Great X's and O's guy. But I mean, he doesn't remember whose mom is sick. He doesn't remember whose dad lost their job, and he doesn't want to. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, that's not what he spends his time doing. So Coach Kelly is going to be either successful here or someplace else. And if he fails here, he'll fall up to another opportunity, just so you know. And he will somehow, try to find solace as he drives off in that Brinks truck. So that's the thing about him. He is really good at selling young men on the dream. Right? He's very good at that. He's really good at putting together a good staff, usually. I'm not as high on this staff as some of his earlier staffs. I don't know if he's lost his touch a little bit. This staff isn't as good as some of his previous staffs. He doesn't have a Harry Headstand. I mean, some of the guys he had in Notre Dame, right? I mean, he had Marcus Freeman. He had a hellaciously good staff. I mean, the best offensive line coach in college football. He had a tremendous staff. This staff is good, solid, but it's not like the Notre Dame staff. It's not as good as the staff even he had at Cincinnati. So I wonder if maybe that's part of the wheels coming off the wagon. This staff is not one of his best, and people don't talk enough about that. Head coaches get all the money nowadays, and they get all the blame and all the credit. But you played. Who's the person that actually made you a player? Wasn't the head coach. Especially when you get to college, head coach, once again, in the case of some guys, barely know your name unless you're like a big-time guy. It's your position. It's the guy that works with you hands-on, knows you. That's the one who does know if your mom is sick, right? That's the one that does know if your little sister, is a national finalist in the spelling bee and how she did. That's who knows you, is your position coach. And so the most important, and I've talked to college coaches about this, many of them will tell you the most, after themselves, the next most important is strength and conditioning, right? Because he works with every player at every position. In fact, in the case of Mike Gundy, he didn't even mention himself first. He said the one most important person in our entire program is Coach Glass, our strength and conditioning coach. He says he's more important than me. He says we'd have an easier time replacing me than Coach Glass. He said that. I'll give that Gundy credit for that. Though he has plenty of an ego, he realizes that Glass makes that team. And then after that, position coaches. Your coordinators are important too, but position coaches are the ones that get those in college, 17 and 18-year-olds. Some of these kids are going to put on 40, 50 pounds in the time they're there. They're going to be a completely different human being by the time they leave, right? Some of them are changing positions. Look at their schools that recruit 7, 8 quarterbacks per year. They know those guys are going to play quarterback for them, but they want a guy with leadership and football IQ. Some of these guys are going to be slot receivers. Some of these guys are going to be defensive backs. Some of these guys bulk up and play linebacker, right? But the person that changes them from whatever they are when they show up there at 17 or 18 into pro prospects or even just good college players is your position coach. And that to me is the Achilles heel of this LSU team. It's not an elite level staff in terms of some of the staffs he's had before at position coach.
I'll give you that.
So let's see, who else were we? We were talking about Sarkisian's position that he did not view this game with Alabama as a yardstick for the Texas program. Do you think that he really believes that, Bill?
Well, one, no, but let's say he does, just for giggles. Let's say that he does. Know who does view it as a yardstick game? Everybody else. All the players do.
Boosters.
The boosters sure as hell do. The boosters, the fans, if he's telling the truth, he's the only one that doesn't, right? So good for him. Not going with the crowd on this, but everybody else who knows anything about college football or cares anything about college football does see it as that. So shout out to Steve Sarkisian being the one who does it, because everybody else does.
Yeah, like you said, there has to be a measuring stick, and especially when you got young Manning coming up. There's probably going to be that starting quarterback in a couple of years.
Quinn Ewers may have something to say about that. But we'll find out what once again, this is a great hype.
But I say 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So, and I think it's going to be kind of interesting to see exactly how that situation plays out in a couple of years.
Well, I mean, obviously you're an Ohio State fan. You know the story of Quinn Ewers. He's a guy that clearly likes attention, right? You don't do all that stuff with your hair and your clothes and your everything else, the whole Joe Dirt thing he's got going. I mean, he's another one of those guys that clearly is, quote unquote, building a brand, right? And that's the thing you see nowadays with a lot of these kids. He has talent. He does. He has a very strong arm. He's a good athlete. And he is a competitor. He likes to win and all that good stuff. I would like to have seen what he could have done if he'd stuck around Ohio State a little longer, because C.J. Stroud's gone. I mean, he's not – this is it for C.J. So, whatever. But these guys don't. Most of these guys don't like to stay. Also, like if you're, I want to start now. The guys don't like to work their way up the depth chart anymore, James. But yeah, we need to see what happens with that. And if Arch Manning, if he doesn't start right away, does he hang around? But here's what I think is truly the key to this game. Can Texas get turnovers on defense, right? Because they're going to have to get turnovers. They're not going to stop a team like that. You don't say, oh, we're just going to, just hold up, right? No, they're going to move the ball. Right? Can you get turnovers? Can you punch out balls in the run game and the pass game? When guys catch a ball in front of you, can punch the ball out. When a guy is running past you, can you get an arm in there and punch the ball out? Can you get a strip sack on a very nimble, very smart, but smaller quarterback, right? Who doesn't have the world's biggest hands and isn't the strongest cat in the world? Can you maybe, pull one away from him? That's to me the secret. Can they get? I think the number is probably 3. Can they get 3 turnovers? I think if they get fewer than 3 turnovers, they will not be able to make it a terribly competitive game. I think they'll play hard. I think early on they'll hang around for a while. I mean, but Alabama is a python, right? It slowly coils around you and then crushes the life out of you. They're so good at so many places. Like there's not an obvious place you can sort of pick at and say, oh, well, there's their weakness. Secondary, nope. Linebacker, oh hell no. Defensive line, not really. I mean, it's not a top for Alabama, a top defensive line. Well, let me put the caveat for Alabama. I mean, Missouri would kill for this D line, but for Alabama, it's not a top D line. It's good, and Will Anderson's the best player in the country, but he's technically speaking not a defensive lineman, though he plays near the line of scrimmage a lot. So it's a solid D line, but the linebackers are magnificent. Obviously, we talked about the best player in the country. Secondary is very good. Their depth is Alabama depth. Just 4 and 5 stars as far as the eye can see. The quarterback play is amazing, and if they lose him, there's a drop off, but they want him. The backup, right? Exactly. It's a drop off. It's not huge. I was about to say. That they want him, I promise that you won't be embarrassed by what you see if they end up having. There's no position where you can point and say, that's the place. So you have to get turnovers, and you have to not commit turnovers, right? They need to have 0 turnovers themselves and get 3. Anything other than that, I don't think Texas has enough.
We went over a couple of baseball questions real quick before you came in, Bill.
Okay.
Who's the top seed in the American League? The Yankees or the Astros?
That's tough. I mean, I'm going to try to divorce my fandom from the answer. I mean, as a Yankee fan, I want to say the Yankees, but the Yankees, frankly, do have weaknesses, right? They're a team that's built. I've been saying this for years, James. They really are built just to hit home runs. They don't have enough people that know how to do other things, quite frankly. I know bunting is dead. Nobody likes bunting anymore. Nobody likes sack flies. Boo. Who wants to see sack flies? I get it.
Bill, hold it. What team was it that just won? Was it last night or the night before with a sacrifice bunt?
Look,
first time in how many years?
I mean, I'm not trying to drag us back to the days of, Sparky Anderson or whatever, but
fundamentals, Bill. Fundamentals.
But I really wish the Yankees had a couple of guys that weren't 240, right? I mean, they really do look like a Sun Belt team. They look like a Sun Belt football team. Like if they look like they're about to go out and play Middle Tennessee State. I
think Josh Allen and Judge are about the same size.
Judge is bigger. Judge is 270. No, he is. He's 272, James. Did you know that? He's 272 pounds. Giancarlo's 256. I mean, they're huge. They're huge. But the problem is when your team is 230, 240, 260, 270, who can steal a base? Who? Right? So that's and for his size, Judge is a decent outfielder. He's a decent fielder. But they're not. Once again, they're not the 1981 Royals in the field, though. I mean, they're not going to be confused with, one of those great Earl Weaver teams of the Orioles of the late 60s and early 70s. They're not that on defense. There's no Paul Blair. There's no Brooks Robinson on this team. So I worry about defense. I worry about their ability to just play small ball if they have to. If you can't hit home runs, what do? Right? You just go home. And then last but not least, in fact, actually the biggest thing, pitching depth. I have been on this forever. Oh, we need Joey Gallo. Oh, can he pitch? Like, what are we doing? Why do we keep adding guys who are just like the guys we already have? It's so frustrating. So the Astros are built to win more than one way. They have the pitching. As much as I hate to say this, and I do really hate to say this, they are much more like a team that, one, should be able to get to the top seed, but more importantly, can make a deep run in the playoffs. They're built like a team that should make a deep run in the playoffs. The Yankees, frankly, are built like a team that's going to be fun to watch, especially if they get guys that will leave some balls like high outside or, in that happy place, belt high, like, oh, they'll hit the ball a million miles. But people know to stay the hell away from their happy place. I mean, unless your pitcher just loses his location, oh, God. I mean, it's fun watching Aaron Judge chase history and all that good stuff, but I really am not a fan of the way that team is constructed.
And how many games do you think the Dodgers will win this season?
Well, I mean, they've got a good shot. Let's see, they're 80-something now, right? 88, 89? What are they now?
Right. I think most predictions are between 106 and 110.
Well, 110 seems a little high, but yeah.
Well, it would keep them at that 70% mark.
Yeah. I mean, I can see 107, 108. Yeah, that's doable.
Okay. And the 2022 MVP for the American League will be?
I mean, Judge probably will win it just because he's about to, he's chasing history. I mean, that's if a guy hits 60-something home runs and the team is not terrible, he usually wins the MVP. Now, whether or not he's really the most valuable player is a whole other question.
Thank you.
But he's going to hit 60 home runs. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, a guy can't hit 60. If his team isn't terrible, if you hit 60 home runs or 62 or 63 or whatever he ends up with, and your team doesn't absolutely suck, you're going to win MVP. I mean, I'm sorry. Those are the rules.
And who wins the National League?
Oh, no, that's more interesting. More challenging because there's not somebody who's going to hit 60-something home runs. So it's more, it's more open to different guys. That's because they could potentially go with a pitcher. That's a great question, actually. Let's think about that one for a second because.
Good luck.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much, Spencer. I so appreciate it.
Right, you're saying the exact same thing I did.
Right. I mean, Freddie Freeman's in the mix. Nolan Arenado's in the mix. And how about blast from the past, Paul Goldschmidt, right?
Yeah.
Hey, what year is it? Is it 2013 again? It made me feel young seeing Paul Goldschmidt as a guy who's got a legitimate shot. I think it's either like a dark horse, like one of the pitchers gets hot. Like, say a pitcher gets hot and wins like 5 games in a row or 4 games in a row down the stretch and puts his team, in a better spot. That could happen. I mean, Mookie Betts is always going to be somewhere in there, but I'm rooting because he's old for Paul Goldschmidt, right? When in doubt, I root for the old guy. But look at his numbers. 331 batting average, right? 34, 35, somewhere in the mid-30s home runs, which admittedly doesn't sound a lot when you see what Aaron Judge is doing. He's like 21 or whatever behind Aaron Judge, but Aaron Judge is a freak. We talked about that. I mean, Aaron Judge literally could line up at 5-tech in the NFL. But, I mean, Goldschmidt's having a ridiculous season, right? I mean, if not for what we just talked about with Aaron Judge, I mean, you don't want to be compared to that. But he's having – okay, so he has a shot at the Triple Crown. And if he wins the Triple Crown, especially at his rather advanced age, I mean, he should win that. So that's what I'm going to say. If he wins the Triple Crown, even if he ties in one of the categories, which he probably will. Let's say he ties in one of the categories. Somebody ties him for RBIs, or someone ties him for home runs. Or he's not. No, he's not number 1 in home runs. He's like in the top 2 or 3. So let's say he ends up with 2 legs of the Triple Crown. Let's say he wins both batting average and RBIs. I still think he wins it. So he'd have to go cold. That's what I think. I think you'd have to go cold to not win it. But I'm not, I wouldn't bet like grandma's insulin money on it. But
I'm glad. Hopefully, your grandmother's glad to hear that. But
you gotta make sure grandma's got her insulin money, man.
Hey, it's but it's interesting to talk a little baseball every now and then. It is getting.
Yeah, I'm so sorry our friend Demetrius couldn't be here because he gets always so excited when we talk baseball.
I know, but I knew he wasn't going to be here. That's why.
Oh, we all did, yeah.
Yeah.
But he's where he should be doing what he should be doing.
Yes, beyond a shadow of a doubt. A couple of interesting things happened on the NBA front, and I was kind of shocked to see Donovan Mitchell going to the Cavs. Now, Bill, what did you think about Donovan Mitchell ended up with the Cavs? And did the Knicks blow the deal by paying Barrett first?
I mean, the Knicks, if ever a question is, did the Knicks blow and then whatever it is you're going to say after that, the answer will be yes. The Knicks will blow whatever it is. I mean, they are a terribly run organization. James, we've talked about this. How long have I been on the SPORTSKRIB? However long I've been on this show, we've always had something where we could say, oh, the Knicks made a mistake, or they did this, or they shouldn't have done that. I mean, look at the comedy of errors this team has been in the time that I've been on the show. We had their chief of security having a fist fight with Charles Oakley in the stands. We've had
not to mention how bad an idea that was to begin with.
Yeah, that's a terrible idea. I mean, fighting with Charles Oakley is a terrible idea, first of all.
Right. Just saying Charles Oakley in a fight in the same sentence, is something that you shouldn't.
Idea.
You should not contemplate that.
No. I mean, unless I've got like a gun run, like a spooky gunship or something, I gotta find somebody's got to soften him up for me first. I'm not just taking him on, but
I'm gonna hope to outrun him. That's all I'm gonna do.
There you go. That's a good way to go. So they've signed players,
and don't forget now, Charles Oakley wasn't exactly slow of foot.
Nope.
He just happened to be a bruiser, but I mean,
right, yeah.
But he wasn't slow.
Oh, I got to see Charles Oakley up close and personal when Virginia Union, where he played, faced us. Right, so he came to Norfolk State a couple of times while I was there. And if you think Charles Oakley looked like a man amongst boys in the NBA, you should have seen him when he was literally a man amongst boys in college. I mean, we had a lot of scrappy dudes on our team, but nobody on our team looked anything like Charles Oakley. Charles Oakley, even at 19 or 20 years old, looked like a dude who had been married a couple of times and had children. I mean, he looked – I want you to understand, Charles Oakley, even when I was seeing him in college, I mean, he looked like he worked at the docks. Like, he didn't look like a guy who should be going to biology class or something. He was a big, strong man with a full beard. And just a terrifying looking man. And you could see our players were like, can we see some proof that this guy is college age? Like, why does he look like that? So, yeah, Charles Oakley has been an intimidating presence for quite some time. So, back to the Knicks. The Knicks are a mess. I mean, they botched Kristaps Porzingis. They've botched, I mean, name a player. They've had some good players, but they never managed to. Either they managed to literally break them, like they get broken, like physically, or they eventually get tired of being on the Knicks, which I fully understand. I mean, if you want to win and be a part of a well-run organization, that's not the place to be. They have, I mean, something about them seems cursed. Snake bit, pick a term. And part of it is, of course, their ownership. They are the worst. I mean, ever since they got rid of Donald Sterling, right? So they're taking him out of the equation. He's gone. So once Donald Sterling left, they took over the mantle of the worst ownership in basketball. The Dolans are terrible. They're bad at owning a basketball team, and they're bad people. So, yes, the Knicks, whatever you want to ask about the Knicks, yes, they blew it. Whatever the question is, the Knicks did it wrong. They made a mistake. I don't care what the rest of it is. The answer is yes, they blew it. Whatever you ask, I don't know what you even were asking about anymore, but I know they blew it. I promise you they did.
Mr. Hayes, how are we doing?
I'm doing good.
I look like you got a fresh off there.
A new coat of wax. Yeah, Carnauba. Good stuff there, Don.
So how have things been, Don? Is it as hot in Texas as it is out here in California?
Well, it's funny you say that. I was running late today after our football game. We had a 45-minute delay due to lightning strikes.
Oh.
So we got last 2 weeks we've gotten quite a bit of rain. It's been probably 8 or 9 days since we were above 100. So it's been hovering around, 90, between 90 and 95.
So sweater weather. Okay, cool.
Yeah, in Texas, it's sweater weather.
Yeah, it's kind of the same out here in California. I was telling guys about how hot it's been out here, but it's same all over. But Don, couple questions I got to put to you. I've already put them to Bill and Spencer. Got a big game coming up between Texas and Alabama.
Yeah. Pretty big
And
game.
Word has reached Don about the game. I'm willing to bet.
and it seems that Mr. Sarkisian says he's not concerned about whether the Alabama showdown defines the Longhorns.
Okay.
Don, did you believe that?
So let's back up a little bit. I got to tell you this story. So back in, I guess, April, my neighbor and I were talking, and he goes, "Hey, Texas playing Alabama." I said, "I know." He goes, "We talked about this before. He actually played football for Gene Stallings at Alabama." And I said, "Okay, hey," I said, "I got season tickets. Let's go." He goes, "All right, we're on." So I'm, being very neighborly. Well, 2 weeks ago, I get offered $1,600 for my tickets.
Sorry, neighbor.
You know what? Take your neighbor
I'll
out
cook
to
you a
dinner
steak, man.
instead.
Sorry.
Take your dinner
So,
out.
I'll give you a 12-pack of beer.
So I told Trey, I said, and he talked to me, he goes, "Hey, we're still on for the game, right?" I said, "Yeah, we are." So I'm not going to go back and be that guy. I'm a capitalist. I'm greedy, but I'm not going to screw my neighbor. But so yeah, we've had a lot of good little banter between Texas and Alabama, and we have a mutual hatred for the A&M, so that's good.
Yeah, here you go. Yeah.
The enemy of my enemy is my friend. But no,
Do you have to go? Do you have to go through Oklahoma at all?
no, do not.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to, Don just
Well,
loves
Alabama fans have to go through Louisiana. No, but anyway, so as far as Sark saying, Sark and Saban have a unique relationship. Saban gave Sark a chance when a lot of people had written him off, and Sark is on record saying that Saban saved his career, and he's very grateful for that. On the other hand, Sark also stole about 4 or 5 top assistants from Saban's staff. So,
Well, I don't think stole is exactly what happened. He just offered them an opportunity. It wasn't like he hit anybody on the head and put him in the back of a trunk or something.
So I think we're going to look at a pretty good game. Comes right down to it. We don't have the depth that Alabama does.
Because nobody does.
Yeah, nobody does. But I think Sark's going to throw the kitchen sink at Alabama, and maybe something will happen, but we'll see. But I'm not going to go into depression and start slicing my wrist if we get beat by Alabama. If I see our kids quit and not follow through, not give effort, then I get pissed. In the last few years, Texas has had sloppy play, stupid penalties, missed tackles, not wrapping up, just lack of fundamentals. And I think Sark has changed that. The few yards that Louisiana Monroe got last week were in garbage time against the third team. So I like what I see so far. Now, there's only been one game, but I'm cautiously optimistic. I think we will be ready for Big 12. But we got Roll Tide coming in, so we'll see.
Yeah. Donna said the key to victory is getting 3 turnovers and not turning the ball over if you're Texas.
Yeah. But I'm not going to if Alabama has 1 turnover, I'll be surprised.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Don, what did you think about the Florida State LSU game? Do you think that Brian Kelly should have went for 2 on that final play of the game? I mean, he had already got 1 field goal blocked up the middle anyway.
Yeah. I think Brian Kelly, his days at LSU have already started out. LSU doesn't tolerate stuff like that. I mean, they ran out Nick Saban. Y'all remember that? They ran out Nick Saban after he won the national championship.
Sure.
But
right.
the
It's
SEC,
happened to 2 coaches who won national championships in less than 20 years.
yeah. Les Miles won one, right? Yeah. So, but Auburn does that shit too. They ran out Gene.
Well, as did Coach O.
Yeah, coach. Yeah. So the SEC is kind of rough on those head coaches. I think we'll keep Sark a little bit longer than that. But yeah, I think Brian Kelly, he kind of screwed the pooch on that. He should have never left Notre Dame, but that's his.
Well, he had several million reasons to leave Notre Dame.
Don,
he hit those millions no matter what.
Yeah. Don, you know, Spencer brought up a little known fact, something that I hadn't realized. Did you? What was it? 7-1, 7-1.
Well, let me ask you this, Don. Who would you say is the only? Georgia likes to say they own Alabama, but they don't. It's 45, 24, and 4 with us owning the 45. But who would you say is the one college that owns Alabama, that has the record?
Texas,
7-1-1.
So the first bowl game I ever went to was Texas Alabama 1981 Cotton Bowl. This Bear Bryant's second last year, and Texas won it. I think 15-13, like in the fourth quarter.
Yep.
Texas had that outstanding defense led by Kenneth Sims, and I remember seeing my brother on the sidelines because that was his first year, freshman year. I said, "Hey, my brother's on TV," because we watched the replay when we got home. But that was my first bowl game to go see in person.
Oh, okay, all right, little history there. Don, who's the best American League team, the Astros or the Yankees?
Well, we went straight from Alabama, Texas to baseball. Okay.
I'm trying to get you caught up with some of your compatriots here because, hey, everybody seems to agree on Brian Kelly. Everybody seems to agree on what Texas has to do in order to be competitive. So I'm just trying to get you caught up a little bit here, but there was a little controversy about that too. I know you have a Nolan Ryan history also. I think I recall that on the show.
Yeah, I got to see him pitch against the Longhorn baseball team. They had a little exhibition game, and his son Reed Ryan was actually pitching at UT at the time. So they built up this father-son pitching duel, and I remember Calvin Murray, who is who's Kevin Murray's brother, and his son is, of course, the NFL quarterback. Yep. But he hit a triple off Nolan Ryan. That was pretty awesome to see that.
Yeah, I imagine so. Yeah.
But to answer your question, because I'm a Texan, I got to go to the Astros as the best team in the American League. But it's not by a wide margin. Astros have been playing pretty good baseball. I know the Yankees. They got a guy that might break the home run record for a season, so that'd be fun to watch. I hope he does because I like watching records fall. But I'm going to give a slight nod to the Astros.
Okay. Everybody gives a nod to the Astros. Pitching, Don.
Pitching against the sticks. Yep. And speed. Astros got more speed.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
What was it Yogi Berra said that great pitching defeats good hitting and vice versa or something like that?
Yes, right. Great pitching can stop great hitting and vice versa. Yep.
Lined up alphabetically by height. That was that other favorite.
Yeah. He also said nobody goes there anymore. It's too crowded.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, I apologize. I got to slide up out of here. 3 o'clock in the morning is coming off early for me this time around, but I appreciate everybody. Thank you, Mr. King. I'll try to get on here next Thursday if I don't have to work.
All right, Spence.
Appreciate you, sir. Thank
Spencer,
you.
we'll discuss the game, I guess.
All right, that'll work.
Yeah, we'll bring out the 8mm film and we'll break it down and whip out the, we'll do it like you used to in the old days. Yeah.
I would love to do that. I miss it. All right, I'll let y'all later.
All right, you have a good night, Spence. Okay, guys. Let's start to. We got the first game on. Things were looking a little sloppy there to begin with. Now the game is tied. So we'll see a lot of missed tackles for the first game. But anyway, Don, will Seattle boo or cheer Russ on his return Sunday?
Well, I like to think that the Seattle fan base is a lot more classy than, let's say, Philadelphia. They know that what Russell Wilson did for them, and I think they understand the dynamics of why he left. So I'm going to say that Seattle fans, for the most part, will – I'm not going to say they're going to cheer, they're going to boo, but I think they'll give him a decent ovation. How's that? I think they'll keep it classy. Now, if this were Philadelphia, you see whiskey bottles flying through the air. But
what do you think, Bill?
Well, I'll say two things. Seattle had never won a Super Bowl before he got there. And while he certainly didn't do it all by himself, he had a tremendous defense and a very solid running game. But he will forever be remembered, right? I mean, he was part of that team's turnaround from being a team that was, they weren't a bottom feeder, but they were a team that competed, 7 wins, 8 wins, 9 wins, maybe 10. I mean, no offense to the Hasselbecks of the world, or the Seneca Wallaces of the world, the Tavares Jacksons of the world, or, of course, the legendary Mr. Whitehurst. I mean, clipboard Jesus, Charlie Whitehurst. They have never had anybody at quarterback. Even back to guys like Jim Zorn and Dave Craig, who was capable of making plays against really good teams when they had to be made at critical moments. So I believe he's going to be cheered. I believe he's going to be cheered, maybe not raucously, but I think it'll be a good, solid ovation. I think people are very appreciative of how hard he worked at what he brought to the table. And once again, when you bring a championship to people who've never – Nick Foles, who was really, an Eagle for that long, is going to be beloved forever. Forever. And you're talking about somebody who spent a decade, right? I can't believe they would suddenly turn on it. I think you'll see plenty of Russ Wilson jerseys in the stands. I think he will get a good, solid ovation.
Until the score is 24-0. But anyway, that's another. Um, Bill, Lamar Jackson tells reporters today that the deadline for his extension with the Ravens is Friday. Is Lamar just crying wolf? I mean, does he? Can he's still under contract?
Yep. He's not crying wolf. He's trying to ratchet the pressure. And remember, he has nothing to lose by ratcheting up the pressure. Nothing to lose. So his goal is to get paid. He is a professional. Remember, we use the term professional. He's a professional football player. He's not playing in college. He's not playing in high school. He's not playing for, his local plumbers guild. No, he's a professional football player, meaning that he does it for money. We may not like that. Some people may want to believe that he does it because he loves the fans. I'm sure he loves the fans, but when it says professional in front of football player, it means you're doing it for money. And he would like the most money, more money than anybody else. That's what he would like. Now, will he get the most money ever, more than anybody else? He might, but it's not guaranteed. Eric DaCosta has a favorite saying. He's the general manager. The right player at the right price, right? That's his little mantra, right player, right price. They have a certain value in their head for what they want to pay him in terms of guaranteed money and total contract value. The two sides, once again, this is me reading the tea leaves. I'm not in on the meetings, but I think the two sides are actually very close. I think the sticking point is guarantees.
Yes. We all kind of figure that's the sticking point because they start. I think the Ravens did offer him what, $215 million.
Yep, and maybe even a little bit more. So my assumption is that they're willing to pay whatever the total value, that you've heard. Whatever that number is, they're willing to pay that, maybe a little bit more.
But he's not going to get Deshaun Watson money. That's
well, probably not quite there, but close. Probably within. I mean, close meaning within 30.
$285 million.
No, probably more like 30, 40 less than that. So no, not quite there, but still top two, top three. Highest. He'll be one of the top if he signs. One of the top, 3-ish paid quarterbacks in the league. The issue is how much of it is guaranteed. And once again, I'm not in the meetings, but I'm going to guess. What I believe is the Ravens want to build into the contract a bunch of guarantees. Not guarantees, but a bunch of clauses. That say if you want to get to this level of money, so we'll guarantee right out of the box X amount, 40%, 50%, whatever that number is, 60%. But if you want to get to 65 or 70 or 75%, win the MVP again, or win 2 playoff games or whatever it is. They want to build clauses in that will get him maybe at some point to almost all of it being guaranteed, or maybe even all of it being guaranteed. Hey, take us to a Super Bowl, right? If you do that, we'll guarantee. But my guess is he just wants it to say, here's the amount of money guaranteed no matter what, right? My guess is that that's what negotiations are, though, is people who would like to give you less and you would like to get more. That's how every negotiation in the history of business has worked. And I'm almost certain how this one is working. Once again, the total contract value, I don't think it's a sticking point. Number of years, I feel certain it's not a sticking point. I would be willing to bet. Now, here's why I might wager grandma's insulin money. I believe that is the sticking point. And so if they can get to a point where the amount that's guaranteed is agreed to on both sides, then they'll have a contract.
What do you think, Don? I mean, Deshaun Watson money, I think that because of the circumstances and other things, that was an anomaly. I don't think that is going to be the norm. What's your thoughts on Lamar's negotiations with the Ravens, Don?
Well, I think Lamar Jackson is looking at this situation. He's been in the league for a few years now. He's a good quarterback. He makes things happen, but every game he plays, there's more film on him. And the stuff that he could do like 3 or 4 years ago, he's not going to be doing that forever.
Right.
Your quarterbacks who like to run the ball, tuck it, and all that. they have a lifespan in the NFL about maybe 5 years. I remember Vince Young's first 2-3 years in the league. He was knocking it out, and then all of a sudden, people got film on him, and they figured out how to contain him. And next thing you know, he's on waivers and trying to make teams and threatening suicide, whatever. So I think that Lamar Jackson, he's got the right idea. I don't know if he's going about it the right way, but he's thinking, I need to get some money. I need to start padding my my nest egg while I can. So I think that's kind of I think that's his ultimate purpose. Lamar Jackson, they're going to have a great year this year, the Ravens will, but again, that type of quarterback has a limited shelf life in the league. So you remember what was the guy's name? Cam Newton? I mean, same thing with Vince Young. So I think Lamar Jackson is playing it, close to the vest.
Don, who has a better season, Trevor Lawrence or Mac Jones?
I would say Mac Jones, just because he's in a proven system. That's not anything from Trevor Lawrence. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to have a nice long career, but I think Mac Jones right now has a better supporting cast.
Yes.
So just based on that, I would have to say Mac Jones. And Mac Jones to me is underrated. I mean, there's some message boards talking about how Bryce is the best quarterback Alabama's ever had. And some people are like, y'all remember that Mac Jones guy? He was pretty good too. So Joe Willie Namath was pretty good, if I remember.
Yeah, he was pretty good too.
Some guy named Staber, when he was sober, he was good.
Bill,
Well, he's good when he's drunk. Hell.
Who do you think has the better season, Bill, Trevor, or Mac?
So I guess I'm going to ask for a qualifier. I think that the person who's going to have a more successful season is Mac Jones, because I believe that Jacksonville is still a year, maybe 2 years away. I think that the better statistical season in terms of attempts, I think they're going to see more attempts, yards, and touchdowns from Trevor Lawrence. But you're going to see more wins from Mac Jones' Patriots.
And I'd add this. Mac Jones, there's no pressure on him to be the guy to win it. He's not carrying a team on his shoulders. Trevor Lawrence is. And I think that's what Bill's getting at. He's going to have a better statistical season, but win-loss,
Yeah, not so much.
One of my favorite football players of all times, Fitz, is going to be joining the ESPN as an analyst on Monday Night Countdown. How optimistic are you for this edition, Bill?
You said this division?
No, I said Fitz is going to be joining ESPN as an analyst for Monday Night Countdown.
Oh, gosh. Yes. I did hear about that. I heard about that. That should be fun. That's why I think about that. I think that should be fun. I don't know exactly what he's going to add at this point. I mean, he just got there. So he'll probably look new at first. I mean, a lot of these guys improve quickly. Like an example is Greg
Olsen,
right, the tight end. I mean, his first few games were a little stiff, a little awkward, and now you look at him now; he's terrific. He's one of the better colormen out there. And he's gotten there fairly quickly. So that's what I'm guessing. I'm guessing he'll look a little, awkward and out of place, and then once he clicks, it should be good.
Well, yeah. Fitz has been around football since he was a ball boy from Minnesota. Do you think he'll still have that same learning curve, Bill?
I mean, he's a bright guy. I think he'll get good fast. Is what I'm saying. Well, who do we have here?
This is Scout.
Oh,
It's my Jack Russell.
Oh, okay.
She hadn't seen me all day. She wanted to get in the lap.
Got it. No, I understand. So you have a Jack Russell terrorist.
I'm right, terrorist. He calls you a terrorist.
It's only because when they don't have something to do, they make up something to do.
Yeah.
And you may not like what they make up.
Where's Ranger?
He's downstairs.
Oh, okay. I guess see, had a little jealousy going there. It's like he's tired of Ranger taking over all the programs all the time, huh?
There you go.
So what do you think about Fitz taking over the Monday Night Countdown, Don?
Well, I think he's going to add something that a lot of people don't add, and that is a great beard. Now, I don't know if it's Old Testament prophet or Civil War general. He's got a beard, somewhere between prophet and general Civil War. So he'll add that. But I kind of like, I like change sometimes. I'm kind of conservative, but I like change. And sometimes, like when you're talking about like sports, guys who recently retired, they come in and they sit in the booth. You never know what you're going to get. One of my favorite things was when like Don Meredith came aboard Monday Night Football and Harry Cosell like shit his pants because they gave him hell. But I don't think Fitz will do that. But I like the idea. My only thing about never mind. That's Thursday Night Football. I just saw that Thursday Night Football is on Amazon Prime now.
Yeah, starting next week.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, starting next week. It's on Amazon Prime. Larry has always been a gentleman. He's always had a lot of respect for the game, and I think he'll be a great addition. Not only that,
kind of a prominent sports writer himself.
Yeah,
he's always had great relationships with the press. I mean, yeah, he's going to do well. Like I said, he'll be a little bit awkward and stiff at first.
Well, like I said, I think it'll be a pretty good, quick learning curve for him. Bill, the Bears, Justin Fields, said he's glad that the 49ers passed on him to take Trey Lance. Justin says he's happy to be in Chicago. I'm glad they passed on me. Are you buying that? I mean, you would rather play for a mediocre Bears team than play for someone that's at least in contention every year?
Okay, so I'm going to take you on a quick trip to an alternate reality. Justin Fields says exactly what he wants to say instead of saying what he needs to say in order not to be hated by the fans of the team for whom he currently plays. Oh, Jesus, man. They screwed me. They told me they were going to take me. I can't believe they passed me for Trey Lance. This sucks. And now I'm stuck in Chicago. So, James, do you think he should have said what he really thought?
Well, I mean, rather than seem like an idiot, I mean, maybe sometimes it's best just to keep your mouth shut.
Well, I mean, what, and pretend they didn't ask you a question? I can't hear you. I'm going through a tunnel. That kind of thing?
Wait a minute. Now, Jimmy G took the 49ers to a playoff game and to the Super Bowl. And you're telling me that you'd rather play for the Bears? I mean, it doesn't make sense.
Okay. Think of it this way, James. Your wife is a wonderful woman, right? But her sister is Sofia Vergara. You can't say to your wife or to someone who asks you, hey, are you happy with your choice or whatever? Oh, hell no. I'd much rather be with her sister. You can't say that, James. You have to say, I'm very much in love with my wife. I'm incredibly happy.
Don, are you buying this, or are you
You
going
know,
with Bill?
Sophia, what's it? But I can't think of the name. But the lady he's talking about, she has a son who's like 30 years old.
Yes.
That's like the ultimate definition of MILF. But yes, I agree with what I agree with what Mr. Carroll is saying. There's certain things that you can think, but you better not say it.
Correct.
Well, I mean, okay.
Unless you're Dave Chappelle. If your name is Dave Chappelle, then go for it. It'll be a good Monday to hear it.
Well, hey, I guess it was the better part of Valor, but all right, guys.
He has to live here. You know what I mean? It's not like he'll just play here. He lives here. He has to walk around the streets here, James.
As weird as it sounds, I'm a Justin Fields fan. I something about that kid I like. I don't know.
But he's not going to win 9 games for the Bears.
No.
Okay.
Okay, I'm not saying they're not trying to win. Let me put this differently. There's a plan in place, and they are only in year 1 of that plan. Ryan Poles is going to completely change this roster. And 3 years from now, mark my words, by 2025, there'll be maybe 6 guys left from the current 53-man roster. They're going to clean house.
Well, they definitely have to, or they need to, especially with that division that they're in. Minnesota, Green Bay, and the 2 also rans. Guys, let's play a little game called To Be or Not To Be. So, Saints rookie, wide receiver, Chris Olave catches his first NFL TD pass this Sunday. To be or not to be, Bill?
Which one of us was that directed to?
Bill.
Oh, Bill. Okay. I think he does. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say that he, in the sort of red zone extended, let's say around the 23-yard line, he catches a pivot route or a whip route, loses his defender, guy slips off him, he dives into the corner of the end zone for a touchdown.
Bill. I mean, Don, sorry.
Oh.
I think if I'm in Vegas, I would put a small bet that he will catch his first TD pass. I mean, you got him, you drafted him, and you want to see what he can do. So, yeah, I would say why not?
Don, the Falcons quarterback, Marcus Mariota, will have a QB rating of less than 70.
Just for the game or for the season?
For the game.
That's another small bet I would make, yes.
Bill?
I think he'll be above. He said 70?
He'll have a QB rating of less than 70.
I'm going to disagree. I think he's above 70. I think that though conservatively, I think he plays well. I think he has gotten to the point in his career where he kind of has accepted who and what he is. He is a permanently beige version of Alex Smith, and he will play like that. He will, if he doesn't like it, if it isn't there, he'll, throw it away or take off with it. I think he will play a very quiet, conservative game, but he will keep his team competitive and keep his team in it and be very careful about how he goes about playing. So if the way that quarterback rating works, if you're a high completion percentage guy, you're going to have a good quarterback rating. So I think he's going to, keep it simple. There won't be a lot of deep shots, but he's going to hit the shots that he's taking. And, like I said, play it close to the vest. And he'll have his quarterback rating will be just fine.
Bill, the Bucs wide receiver Russell Gage will catch his first TD pass from Thomas Brady.
So does Thomas Edward Patrick Brady hit Russell Gage? I'm going to say no on this one. I think that Gage is a good game, though, but I don't think he scores.
Don.
I think Tom Brady's gonna have. I mean, Tom Brady's gonna have several targets, and I think Gage will catch 3 or 4 passes, but I don't think he's gonna catch this TD this week.
Bill, the Cowboys quarterback, Dak Prescott, will get his first win over Tom Brady in the season opener.
That's an interesting one. I will say yes, but I don't think it'll mostly be because of Dak. Dak will play well, don't get me wrong, but I think that they're going to get consistent pressure on Brady, and I think they force him into some unexpected mistakes.
Don.
Hey, I'm as big as a Brady fan there is out there, but the dude's 45, pushing 46. Dallas made some great. Their defense is improving year after year, and they're going to be humming. So, yeah, I think the Cowboys will beat Tom Brady.
Don, the Panthers starting quarterback Baker Mayfield will throw at least 3 touchdowns against the Browns.
That's a negative. He might get 1 or 2. He might throw 1, rush for 1, but he's not going to throw 3 against anybody.
Bill.
I think he might even get 3 total touchdowns. I don't think he'll get 3 passing touchdowns. I think that they're going to run the ball, which is surprised no one. I mean, both teams really want to run the ball. Don't be surprised if that's a low-scoring game. Don't be surprised if that game looks like it's from 1974. I think that Nick Chubb's going to have about 27 carries.
13-10.
And I think that something like that. And I think that Hunt has 12 or 13 carries. I think that there's 41-ish carries between the 2 top backs for the Browns. I think the 2 top backs for, between Deontay Foreman, who I'm sure Don remembers quite fondly, and, of course, Christian McCaffrey, and heck, even a little bit of Shuba Hubbard. I think they're going to also shoot for somewhere in the, mid-40s or in terms of rushing attempts. It's going to look like a game from yesteryear. And, yes, I think it'll be fairly low scoring.
Don, Nick Chubb will open the season with his first 100-yard rushing game.
That's an affirmative. I think he'll have about probably around 117, 118 yards, right at 120. They're playing the Panthers, so there's that. And like Bill said, I think both teams will rely on the run. So,
Bill, will Chubb get his first 100-yard rushing game?
I will agree. I don't know if he gets quite as high as Don is saying, but I think he'll be over 100, 103, 108, somewhere in there, probably.
The Eagles running back Miles Sanders will have his first 100-yard game of the season, Bill.
That's a toughie. I think he'll come close. I think he'll end up just a little shy of it, though. I think he's like 96, 97. I think he'll be just a couple of yards away.
Don?
Just based on past experience with the Eagles, he might have about 80 yards probably. I don't see him having 100-yard rushing. I know the Lions' defense isn't like game busters, but they're pretty solid up front. So I would say if he does get 100, he's going to be bruised and bloodied when it's all over with.
Don, Jared Goff will have at least 150 yards passing with 1 touchdown going to the newly signed DJ Clark.
Well, so this is a 2-parter, right? So Jared Goff will have probably between 200 and 250 yards passing. But that's not real spectacular by NFL standards. I mean, that's average for quarterbacks, I think. 150 yards means he's having a really shitty game. Touchdown going to Clark. If I'm in Vegas, I'm betting against that.
Bill.
I assume you're talking about DJ Shark.
DJ Clark.
I don't know who DJ Clark is, but I know who DJ Shark is from LSU, who used to be a Panther.
Well, on the, let's see, I'm looking here on the roster, and mine says DJ Clark.
Yeah, I know who DJ Shark is, but there's no
Okay.
L. It's CHARK. I know who that guy is. He went to LSU.
Okay.
But DJ Clark, I have no idea who that guy is.
Is it? Well, the newly acquired wide receiver for the Lions. Maybe I didn't pronounce it correctly, but he's just getting there.
Well, if it's the guy I'm thinking of, and then I used to sing DJ Shark, that guy. If you're talking about that guy, I'm going to say no, just because he's still trying to learn like what they call plays. I mean, he just got there, so I'm going to say no.
He's still playing against the Eagles defense,
Which is not a bad defense.
Yeah. What place are you predicting them to come in? Are you predicting them to beat the Cowboys out for the NFC least?
I think that they end up with the same record, but they win because they have the better head-to-head.
Okay. What do you think about that, Bill? I mean, Don. Sorry.
About Carson Wentz?
About whether or not the Eagles will win the NFC least.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, they're not going to win the East. The more I think about it, I think the Cowboys might be the best team in the East right now. That's not saying a whole lot, but I have a good feeling what I'm hearing about it. That's the Cowboys that are at camp. So,
the Commanders' Carson Wentz will throw 2 or more INTs. Don.
I think he'll throw one, at least one. But the Jags again. This is one of those games that will be fun to watch because both teams are kind of in the same. I would say same talent level. But no, I think he'll throw one, at least one, maybe not 2.
How many INTs you got for Wentz, Bill?
That the other team actually catches, or that like bounce off guys' shoulder? Because
they all count the same.
Okay, because
ask Josh Allen about that first interception.
I think that end up being caught only one. I think he'll have some very interesting near misses, some things that bounce off a defensive back's hands or chest or shoulder pads, but I think only one of them gets caught. So one.
ATN will open the season with his first 100-yard game, Bill.
No, though he'll be very impressive. I don't think he'll get enough carries. I think they're going to have him in a timeshare.
What do you think, Don?
I think he'll be short. Even against the Commanders, he'll be short, but I like his trajectory in the NFL.
Don, Daniel Jones will have a QB rating of 70 or less in his season open.
Dude, Giants is another team that sucks. Sure. It'll be less than 70.
Bill?
I think that Daniel Jones will struggle at various points this season. However, I think he actually comes out hot and has a really good first half, particularly. And though he'll cool off in the second half, I don't think he'll cool off so much he'll end up at the 70 mark. I think he'll still end up in the 88, maybe a little above that in terms of QB rating.
The Titans, Derrick Henry will have at least 2 rushing touchdowns, Bill.
Just rushing. You're not counting receiving or anything
Just,
like that.
he will have at least 2 rushing touchdowns. I didn't say anything. I don't know about passing, but
Right. Well, receiving. I mean, I don't think he's going to do any pass. He might throw a pass. Who knows? I mean, with their situation at quarterback, I guess they're going to let him throw passes. But I'm going to say no. I think he will score, but I don't think he's going to get 2 just on the ground.
Don.
At least 2. I think that's a safe bet. I think the Titans are going to establish the run fairly early against the Giants. And Derrick Henry, although he has had some injury issues, I think he's going to rebound, and he might have 3 touchdowns rushing. We'll see.
Don, Texans quarterback David Mills will have 2 or more interceptions against the Colts.
Yes. I have no faith in anything the Texans are doing right now. So,
Bill?
Could you perhaps mean Davis Mills? Davis? Davis Mills, maybe?
The quarterback of the Texans will have 2 or more interceptions against the Colts.
Okay.
Whoever he is.
Whoever he is. Whichever guy it is. Whoever takes the field.
If it's Fran Tarkenton.
Well, I have a lot of faith in Fran Tarkenton. But I'm going to say no. I think he actually has a very clean, efficient game.
The Colts' Matty Ice throws 3 or more touchdowns. Bill?
I think he's right at 3, so I'm going to say yes. I think he gets 3.
Don?
I would say yes because, again, I have no faith in anything the Texans are doing.
Don, the 49ers running back, Elijah Mitchell will have his first 100-yard rushing game of the season.
I would say no.
You think the Bears will stop him, huh? Okay. What do you think, Bill?
I don't think the Bears will stop him. I think he doesn't get enough carries. I think that, once again, to the utter disdain of what fantasy owners would like to see happen, they're going to make him split carries. Should they? No. He should get all the carries, but he's more talented than other backs. But unfortunately, running back by committee is all the rage these days. So I think he ends up with about 22 carries and about 94 yards. Just comes up short, but he goes over 120 yards in
all-purpose yards.
Oh yeah, well over that.
Okay. Bill, the tight end Cole Kmet will catch a TD pass from Justin Fields.
I will say yes. I mean, at least in part because he's their only real red zone threat. Allen Robinson, as you may have heard, is not there anymore. In fact, he's playing right now. So their next best receiver is, and I'm a huge Darnell Mooney fan, but he's diminutive, I think is a good way to put it. And Velus Jones is a rookie. So Kmet is about to get lots of opportunities, particularly in the red zone.
Don?
Yeah, I think Bill's absolutely correct on that. I think he'll be a prime target for Justin Fields, kind of like Novacek was for Aikman. So, yeah.
Bill, Kyler Murray throws 1 or more TDs to Marcus Brown.
Oh, wait, do you mean Marquise Brown? Yeah, well, they're friends for years, so I'm going to say yes. I think he ends up forcing the ball at points to Marquise Brown, who, of course, as we all know, is the little cousin of Antonio Brown, and like I said, has been friends of Kyler Murray since they spent time together in college.
Was it college or Pop Warner?
College.
College? I thought they played a little before that, but
Well, the problem with that is the commute, because one kid's from Florida, the other's from Texas.
let's see. Bill, what do you think? Don, what do you think? Kyler Murray, one or more to Marquise Brown?
That's a safe bet.
Mahomes runs for at least one rushing TD against the Cardinals. Don?
Patrick Mahomes is at that stage where he probably doesn't want to run, but he might be forced to down, in the red zone. He might have like third and goal, at the 4-yard line. He'll probably take it and run. So yeah, I'll place a bet on that.
Bill?
Yep, I think he does. I think it's not a called. Obviously it's not. It's a called pass in the red zone. He's trying to extend to make a play, and he notices, oh, they're in man-to-man. No one's looking at me, and he takes off. Touchdown.
Yeah, did he have to wait for this ball or what? Jesus Christ. Okay, let's see. Bill, Darren Waller has his first receiving touchdown of the season.
Yeah, I say yes. I think, once again, it's a situation in the red zone, and everybody's worried about Devontae, as they should be, about Devontae Adams, where you used to all be worried about Darren Waller. So this is good for Darren Waller, because now teams have to game plan for him differently. No more rotating the safety automatically over to his side, because there's Devontae Adams. So yes, I think Waller gets one.
Don?
I think I would go with that bet. I think he'll get his first TD.
Don, the Chargers, Justin Herbert has his first 100-plus quarterback rating against the Raiders.
I think the Raiders' defense may not allow that. I think it'll be close, but I'll have to go negative.
Bill?
I'm going to say yes. Now, you mean of the season, right? Because he's had 100-plus quarterback ratings before, many times.
No, I said he has it against the Raiders.
Oh, first one he's got right against the Raiders. Okay. Got it. Yes, I say yes.
Let's see. Bill, Aaron Rodgers has, Aaron Jones has his first 100-yard rushing game of the season.
Well, he's going to go for about 130 some odd, 135, 140 total scrimmage yards. But I think he's more like in the 80s in terms of rushing. Once again, at least in part because A.J. Dillon's also going to end up with about 105, 110 scrimmage yards. You're going to see both backs a lot, but Jones won't get enough carries to get to 100.
Remember, I think we asked this question before. Will both of these backs have a 1,000-yard season?
And I said before, not rushing, but they'll both go over 1,100 yards from scrimmage. I'm almost certain I said those exact words.
Don, do you think Aaron Jones has his first 100-yard rushing game of the season?
I don't think so. Again, the Vikings defense is – I think they're improved somewhat. Plus, he's going to be sharing carries. And plus, Aaron Rodgers is going to be throwing the ball quite a bit. So, he'll probably average about 4.5 to 5 yards a carry. I mean, he's that type of kid, but I don't think he's going to get enough touches to go 100 yards.
Don, Dalvin Cook has 2 rushing TDs against the Packers.
Opening game. Are they playing at Green Bay or are they playing at Minnesota?
Playing in Minnesota.
Yeah, he'll have to. Why not?
Bill?
God, I hope so. I'm starting him in fantasy. Yes. Let's say yes.
The Seahawks quarterback Geno Smith throws at least 2 INTs. Bill?
I'm going to say no. Now, I think, at least in part, is because he's going to throw the ball sparingly. They're another team that really, really, really wants to run the ball. So I think that between Travis Homer, Rashad Penny, and the rookie Kenneth Walker, we're talking about probably 44, 45, 46 rushing attempts between their top 3 running backs. So I wouldn't be shocked if we threw the ball somewhere around 24 times. I think they're going to be one of those teams, one of those rare teams that actually runs the ball more than they pass it. Maybe not the whole season, but in the early part of the season, yes.
Don? Do you think Geno throws at least 2 INTs?
No, he won't. He might throw 1, but he's going to be throwing a lot to the back, so the backfield and probably a tight end. Kind of those like safe throws, and you don't get a lot of interceptions when you're throwing to running backs and tight ends. So I'll say he might throw 1, and it'll probably bounce off some of the shoulder pads and will land in some defensive lineman's hands. And yeah,
Don, Jerry Jeudy catches his first TD pass of the season.
yes,
He was held last year without one at all.
I think he'll get one. He's got another quarterback, a proven quarterback, Russell Wilson, and so and that's the Legion of Boom isn't the Legion of Boom like it had been in the past. So again, probably somewhere in the red zone, and I think he'll get one.
Who has the most targets, Don? Jeudy or Sutton?
I say Jeudy.
Bill?
I'm going to say Cortland Sutton. I think Cortland Sutton is about to have a breakout season. I think Judy will well, but it'll be clear early and often that Judy's the number 2 and Sutton's the number 1.
Does Jeudy catch his first TD of the season?
I think that he has a good game. I think he doesn't score yet. I think he comes really close, though. He has one of those things where he gets like tripped up or dragged down, and then they run it in. Like Javonte Williams pounds it in from like the 2. He'll score. He'll score this season. Like, he won't go get blanked, but I think it'll take him another week or 2.
Well, this last question here might be a little. Let's see. It's the 3rd quarter, right?
4th.
4th quarter. Okay. The Rams sacked the Bills quarterback Josh Allen 3 or more times. Bill.
Okay. Well, unless they've gotten to that already, I'm going to say no because I think the Bills are about to run the ball a lot. So I think the answer to that one's no, unless they've already gotten to 3.
No, I think they've gotten to him twice.
Well, I think that's it then. I think that's what they get to. I think from this point forward, they're going to try to bleed the clock, and so no.
Don.
I did know what Bill said. These questions are always fun when the game's almost over. So, hey, I'm even watching it, but I'm going to what Bill said. I'll trust y'all.
Okay.
Wow. Yep.
Tight end, the Bills tight end will get his first TD of the season.
You talking about Dawson Knox?
Dawson Knox.
Well, once again, I'm going to say no because I don't think they're going to throw the ball enough in the last however many minutes are left of the game for that to happen. So unless he gets a rushing touchdown, I'm going to say no.
What do you think, Don?
Got to go with Bill because I think Bill's watching the game and I'm not. So Ditto Bill.
Let's see here. Tyreek Hill has 2 or more receiving touchdowns against the Patriots. Don?
Yes. Tyreek Hill still has explosiveness, so I'll go with yes.
Bill?
If I've learned nothing else about William Stephen Belichick, is that he's going to look at the player that you most want to go off and take that player away. I have watched this man coach for 28 years, counting his time with the Browns. So I know, if I know nothing else, I know that he's going to identify one player and say, we're going to put that player in a box. We're going to put that player in a trunk and drop them in the bottom of the ocean. Somebody else might beat us. It might be a great day to be Mike Gesicki, but it is not going to be a great day to be Tyreek Hill, because he's going to see safeties rotated at him. He's going to get bumped at the line. They're going to throw everything at him. So no.
Mac Jones throws at least 2 INTs in the season opener, Bill.
Once again, I'm saying no, partially because they're going to run the ball like crazy. Bill Belichick likes to counter program. He sees the way the league is headed, and he goes in the opposite direction. Oh, you guys want to go 4 and 5 wide and throw the ball over the place? I'm going to draft fullbacks and tight ends, and we're going to pound the ball at you. They won a game, now admittedly it was a snow game, where I think Mac Jones attempted 6 passes. Is that right? And I think it was
6
the
or
lowest,
8. It was one of the 2.
and it was the lowest number of passes attempted in a victory since 1947 or something. So it is clear to me that they are more than comfortable with just running the ball at people. And I think that's what they're going to do.
Okay. Bill, Lamar Jackson rushes for at least 1 TD and throws for at least 1 TD against the Jets.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. If you, I don't know what the odds on that one are as a prop bet. They probably aren't that good, actually. They're probably you probably don't. You have to put down a decent amount to get back anything. But yes, that's almost a certainty.
Don?
If I were in Vegas, I would make that bet. Yeah. The Jets aren't exactly world beaters on defense, and Jackson, we alluded to earlier, he's not getting younger, but he's old enough to hand it to the Jets either way. So,
Don, Breece Hall will have to wait until another game to get his first 100 yards rushing.
yes, he will have to wait because I trust that Ravens defense. That might be the ugliest game of the week. I mean, I can, you almost sniff a blowout. We'll see.
Yeah. Bill?
Well, so Breece Hall is going to not get anywhere close to that number, not just because the Ravens are good defense, because I don't think he's even the starter. I think he's the backup running back. So I'd be absolutely shocked if the backup running back went for 100 yards, unless there's an injury.
Well, on the depth chart, he's listed as number 1. You have to look up ESPN, but on depth chart, he's right now he's the number 1 right now. Don't know how long that'll hold up.
Well, I mean, I think it'll be a timeshare, but I think that actually, I mean, once again, I'll wait and see, but I think Michael Carter actually ends up out-snapping him, at least in part because he knows all the protections, and Breece is still trying to learn them. But, I mean, he's good. Like, he's a guy who's decent, even as a young player in blitz pickup and things like that, but he doesn't know all the protections to the extent that Carter does because Carter's been there longer.
Bill, Najee Harris will have his first rushing TD against the Bengals.
Yes, he will.
Don?
He will. It'll be probably from 3 yards in. So we're 3 yards out. It won't be a long, big rush. It'll be like a 3-yard rush or 2-yard rush. But he'll get his first TD.
Don, the Bengals D will have at least 3 sacks.
Who's the Steelers starting? Are they
Trubinsky.
young guy? I'm gonna say no, only because he's young and he can avoid the sack. Anybody else, if it'd been like Big Ben or Rudolph, I would say yeah, they'll get 3 sacks. They're not very limber, but they'll probably get him twice. But I don't think they get 3.
Bill?
I'm going to say no, largely, not entirely, but at least largely because I think they're going to move the pocket, and he's a good athlete, but also because they run the ball a lot. I know I've been saying that a lot. I think that people are going to be surprised. Not to say the running back and the running game is back like it was, 40, 50 years ago, but I think that at least in part because of the way some teams are now constructed. We're playing with sometimes only one linebacker on the field, 5 and 6 DBs, and sometimes we do have a linebacker on the field. That linebacker is 215, 260, 217 pounds. Teams that can, kind of kick it old school and just suddenly pound you may have an unexpected advantage simply because teams are no longer building themselves to stop teams like that. So I think he's not going to. These Parker's not had that many attempts.
Okay. Wow. Guess what, guys? We're on time tonight. How about that? But Don, been missing your presence here lately. I know football season is getting back on here soon. How's your project with the cheerleaders working out?
Doing good. I worked out with them. I usually do on Monday, Wednesday, and so I kind of just teach them what to do, as far as building their core, and then I just turn it over to their coach, the lady who coaches them. I'm not in there like for 2 hours or anything. I just get them started and show them how it goes, which muscle groups to target, and then they're good quick studies. So I just let them go at it.
Oh, okay.
Do a lot of work with medicine balls. I'm old school. I love the medicine ball.
Well, yeah, that's real. Do they still make those, Don? No.
They do.
Well, give us your final thoughts for the evening, Don. Always glad to have you around, man, and looking forward to seeing how that Alabama game turns out.
Yeah. So my final thoughts. Yeah, I'm still kicking myself in the ass for not taking the $1,600 I was offered for my tickets, because that would pay off my balance to go to Israel. So I don't know if I told you, I'm going to the Holy Land in November. So
okay, all right.
I did get rid of my Baylor tickets, but not for $1,600.
Yeah, that would have made you a great horse trader there, wouldn't it, Don?
Oh yeah, actually, that Texas Baylor game might wind up being a pregame to watch. We'll see. My final thoughts, not related to athletics, but today we lost the Queen of England, the only queen I've ever known. I mean, I think there's a queen in the Netherlands. There's a queen in Spain, I think, maybe Norway, Sweden,
Luxembourg.
Maybe Luxembourg. But a lot of these queens are like, they're queens because their husband's a king. Queen Elizabeth was the queen in her own right, and I mean we have queens on 6th Street in Austin, Texas, but that's a different type of queen. But we say the queen, everyone knows you're talking about Elizabeth Windsor. Yeah, I mean, she went from like her prime minister was Sir Winston
Churchill.
Yeah, and she was all the way to this lady. Can't think of her name. She's probably the best looking prime minister I've ever had. She's kind of cute, tall blonde. But anyway, I digress. Queen Elizabeth was the last ruler who had been a veteran of World War II. She worked as a mechanic. Think about royalty getting their hands greasy, but she didn't mind it. Now we're stuck with Prince Charles, and he's a fucking weirdo. But
King Charles.
King Charles, yes. Yeah. So the first King Charles got his head removed by Parliament, and second King Charles he partied till I think he died of syphilis or alcoholism or something. He was a party animal. So we'll see what the third Charles does. He'll probably bore people to death. But yeah, so I'm gonna miss Queen Elizabeth. She was a good lady, and Godspeed to her. And that's not related to sports, but that's my final thought.
Yeah. Charles definitely has a face that only a king could love. But
his wife is I mean, Princess Diana was kind of hot, and then he wants to fuck Camille. No.
Well, she's no Markle, that's for sure. Merkel.
Yeah.
Bill,
Angela Merkel, yes.
your final thoughts for the evening, my man.
So my final thoughts turn to a person, a place, and a GOAT. So we saw very recently, the last competitive tennis that we played by Serena Williams. And we saw the place, of course, where the U.S. Open is played up in Flushing, Queens. And, of course, Arthur Ashe, who was a person, a Richmond, Virginia native, right? Went to Maggie Walker Alexander High School. I knew people that went to high school with him. And Willie Lanier also was same high school, same time. They were both at the same high school at the same time. But on this day in 1968, Arthur Ashe in Forest Hills won the first U.S. Open era title, beating Tom Oakler, a Dutchman, 14-2. This is before they went to the tiebreaker system. 14-12, 5-7, 6-3, 3-6, 6-3. So the words you're looking for is marathon match. And so we are correct, obviously, when we talk about Serena Williams and the impact she's had on the sport and how she has changed the way people view the sport and how she and her sister, two young girls from Compton, California, came to utterly dominate a sport that is, I guess, right there with things like hockey, bowling, golf, for the whitest sport in America. But in addition to just the whiteness, there's also sort of a class and prestige part of tennis that has only fairly recently begun to loosen. But when Arthur Ashe burst on the scene, I mean, words, it is difficult to form the words to tell you how much more challenging and how much more difficult things were for him, right, to make an impact that he made in the sport that he played. And so when I think of him, this man that we lost far too young, who was a tremendous ambassador for his sport, for our nation, for the planet Earth, and to be this dynamic and incredible athlete, a quietly intense competitor. You didn't see him screaming or yelling or breaking rackets. He knew, at least in part, much like Jackie Robinson or any other pioneer, that you couldn't do that, right? If he cursed at an official or broke a racket or threw a tennis ball or acted in any way that was undignified, that it would reflect upon his entire race. And he always took that incredibly seriously. So while I do celebrate and will celebrate the life and career of Serena Williams, I will always come back to what Arthur Ashe did on this day in 1968. a summer where a lot of things happened in our country, James, as I don't have to tell you. A lot of things happened in our country in 1968. But amongst those things, on this day, the 8th of September of 1968, he won the first open era U.S. title, and indeed opened the U.S. Open in a way that it had not been before.
Yes, truly great American, truly great tennis player, and above all, a great human being. Thank you guys for joining me tonight. Look forward to talking with you next week. Don, what's your schedule look like next week?
Every Thursday I have a game. This Thursday only had one game, but they usually play like a JV game or a freshman game, and usually a freshman B game. So if we have one game next week, and I won't know until Monday, then I'll be on late like I was tonight. If we have two games, I won't.
We'll see you next week.
Yeah, maybe. It'll be touch and go, but I really wanted. I was glad that we only had one game this week because I wanted to talk Texas, Alabama with our friend Spencer. So,
So Don, who's leading your cheerleading squad in power clean?
that would probably be Safira Orozco.
There we go. That sounds like an athlete. I can't wait to break down her tape.
She has the best form, but yeah.
How impressed were you guys tonight watching this Buffalo team against the Rams?
Well, I was more noticing how sloppy both teams were, but particularly, obviously even more so the Rams than the Bills. Every single one of the mistakes both teams have made have been preventable. And I know that the modern trend is to not play your starters, either not at all or very sparingly in the preseason. But you can tell that some of these guys haven't played an actual football game in a while. You know what I mean? Like, it showed. It was pretty clear to me that some of these people had not played in a live game in a while.
Most definitely. But hey, glad to have football back on. Next week it'll be on Prime Video. So if you want to get your Thursday night fix on, you got to go to Amazon Prime. But I'm looking forward to seeing what they had to offer. So far, Amazon Prime has had some very good programming. As a matter of fact, I joined Amazon Prime just to get the NFL football.
Yep.
But anyway,
I just saw the son of one of my students a second ago, Bryson Hopkins, who is the son of Brad Hopkins.
Oh, okay. All right.
Who plays tight end for the Rams, but his father, of course, was I think 16-year, something like that. Brad played a long time, 14, 15, something like that year. Offensive lineman he played with the Oilers, and then they moved while he was with the team, and then he moved to Tennessee when the team moved. But yes, shout out to Brad Hopkins, who I taught Theater 263 years ago.
Did you teach you the words to West Side Story, Bill?
Well, here's what I will say. He didn't do a lot in the class, but he did enough. And he did one thing where I watched him do a bunch of cartwheels, which I thought was interesting. Because his kid was about 292 at the time. So you don't often see a 292-pound person doing cartwheels.
Oh, Don, we got to warm you up for that one, man. Come on, 292. Hey, I mean, all right, guys. Well, hey, have a great night. Look forward to talking to you again next week. And as always, man, hey, let's keep watching football.
Good night, guys.
Have a good night. See you guys later. Yeah.
Good to see you, Scout.